Hello there and welcome to Luminar NEO All Sliders Explained, the show where we describe and explain you every single slider in this powerful photo editing application. Now, if you've never been here before, my name is Jakub and I'm a creator and founder of Clever Photographer. Now, before we're going to start, I have a few things I want to cover. First of all, at the end of the video, we're going to give you our own and very popular Luminar NEO shortcut cheat sheet. So stay until the end so you can get your own copy. The second, if you want to follow us along, make sure you head into the description, follow the link there and get your sample files before we're going to start. If you don't own Luminar NEO, you can also follow the link in the description and use our own discount code Clever Photographer. That way you get additional 20% off and you can get your own copy. And finally, we want to ask you to like and comment on our videos and also follow our channel so we can keep creating content like this. In this video tutorial, I'm gonna show you how to use the HDR Merge plugin for Luminar NEO. In the first part of the tutorial, we're gonna talk about what is the HDR Merge plugin and what it's used for. In the second part, I will show you how to install it. And in the third part, we're gonna cover all the different sliders and buttons that come with this plugin. And finally, at the end of the tutorial, we're gonna take the images, merge them, and then we're gonna move them into the edit module where I'm gonna show you my new HDR photo editing workflow for Luminar NEO. So as you can see, we are at the Skylum website and it's here where we're gonna be talking about what is the HDR Merge. Well, HDR Merge is a custom-built technology in Luminar NEO for merging up to 10 exposure bracketed images into a single HDR photo. It delivers a spectacular level of color enhancement, making the final result look as close as possible to what human eye can see. Now you should know that you can also start with just one photo, and the built-in AI will increase its dynamic range by analyzing and adjusting multiple parameters like tone, contrast, and details. If you are merging multiple images, you also benefit from auto-alignment and a ghost reduction. These features come handy when one or more shots are misaligned or when there are moving objects in the shot. Now I also need to mention that the HDR Merge plugin is available as a paid professional extension to Luminar NEO, and unless you're a subscriber for Luminar NEO or you own Aurora HDR before, you will have to pay a fee to get this plugin in. Now, Luminar NEO's powerful new engine gives the platform an unlimited number of creative possibilities. It allows it to incorporate more editing tools for artists and making it easy to add such technologies as the HDR Merge extension. With the HDR Merge, Luminar NEO is transitioning into a one-stop solution for landscape and architecture photographers. To install the HDR Merge plugin, you first want to make sure that you are in a catalog module. After that, you want to check your version of Luminar NEO. To access the HDR Merge plugin, you need to be at least on version 1.2.0. To do that, navigate to Luminar NEO on the top of your toolbar and click on About Luminar NEO. It's here where you can see your current version of Luminar NEO. To access the extension library, you need to click on the little orange puzzle next to the Luminar NEO logo. Once you're ready, click on the puzzle icon and open it. Once you click on the icon, you will be greeted with the extensions window and the HDR Merge plugin. Once you're ready, click on the Get icon to access the plugin. On this next window, you're going to have two options. You can either purchase the plugin by clicking on the Buy Now button, or if you already have the activation code, you can click on the activation code text under the Buy Now button and enter it. Copy the code and insert it into the Enter Code Here text field. After that, click on the Activate button to activate your plugin. This will bring you back into the Extensions window, where you're going to have an option to install the plugin. To do that, just click on the Install button. Once the installation is finished, the same button will change into Installed, and you can now close the Extensions window. Once you close the window, you will notice the HDR Merge plugin being placed into the right sidebar in Catalog module where it's ready to be used. Now, before we're going to start with the edit, I want to mention the release of our brand new Luminar NEO Masterclass. At this moment, it's on special offer of just $39. For the $39, you will get a masterclass with over 57 lessons, and most importantly, you will also get our HDR Merge mini course. In this mini course, I teach you everything about HDR photography, and I also share with you my photo editing workflow for HDR landscape, sunset, interior design, and nightscapes. So if you want to learn more about our Luminar NEO Masterclass, make sure you head to our website or follow the link in the description of this video. So now we know what is the HDR Merge plugin, and we have it installed in Luminar NEO. As you can see, we are starting again in a catalog module by looking at our sample files. And if you watched one of our last two episodes where we were looking at what is HDR photography and how to shoot it, you would know that we have a set of sample files from a little church here in West Sussex. If you haven't followed us, all you need to do is to jump into the description of the video, follow the link there and download the sample files so you can follow us along. Now we have 4 different sets. We have a set of 9 images, we have a set of 5 images, we have a set of 3 images, and 1 single image. So for this initial tutorial, we're going to be using the set of 5. To recognize the files, just click on them, and on the information panel, you will see that they will be named HDR5. After that, you can just hold Command or Control and select 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 images. Once you select your 5 images, drag and drop them into the HDR Merge field. Once you drop them there, you will see that they will be displayed in order of the exposure. We were starting with -2.3, and by using these little arrows, you can move between the images, and you can see that the last image we have here is the 1.7. So this is 5 of our images. There is another thing you can notice, that when I hover over the image, it gets a little cross in the top right corner. As you guessed it, we can use it to remove the image from this list. So let's just remove the last image by clicking on the cross, and you can see it disappeared. So now we only have 4 images. To bring it back, navigate back to your library, just deselect all of the images and just bring back 1 additional image, the one we missing. So we again drag and drop it into the field, and it will be added where it's belonged to. So again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 images. Now, what are the other options we have here? In the top right corner, we have this circle, and when we click on it, we have 2 options here. Auto alignment, and that will help us to make sure that our images are aligned in case of any shake or movement of the camera. Personally, I always leave it on, as it's always safe to make sure that your images are aligned. The second option here is the ghost reduction. You can click on it to switch it on, and as it says on the text, you should turn this on if there are moving subjects like people, cars, and extra in your brackets. So basically, when there is a moving car in your scene and you're shooting with the bracketing, the car will be at a different position on each of the image. So this is where the ghost reduction come in and help you to reduce it. So what are the other 2 options in a ghost reduction? Well, the first one is the reference image. When you click on it, you're able to select the image you want to use for the reference for the ghost reduction. So you can check your images and say, I really like the position of the car on my overexposed image, so then I can just select the image all the way to the top and leave it there. If it's another image, you can move it around. What I like to do is to stick with the normal exposure, as that is quite good reference to start with. After that, we have the amount choice, and here again you can click on the drop down box and choose anything from low, medium, high, and highest. I suggest you to play around with it and see the result and see what works the best for your image and project. Now we can click away, and the final option here is to remove all images. So when we click on that, it will remove all the images from our list, and we have to start from the beginning. But it saves you a few steps and to click on each of the corner of the image. So let's bring our images back. Again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're gonna drag and drop it in our HDR Merge field. Once the images are in, we can double check that they are all there. And once we're happy with the setup, we can click on Merge and let the HDR Merge do its work. Now, depending on the size of the images and depending on how many images you're using, this may take anything between few seconds to few minutes. So once it's finished, we're gonna continue. Once the merge is finished and our new HDR image is created, it by default goes into HDR Merge folder. This folder is going to be placed by default into your image or picture folder in your documents. So let's have a look at it. It's also going to be added into our folders in the library section here. So as you can see, I have the HDR Merge here. And if you want to see where is the folder located, you can just right click on it and click on Show in Finder. This will open the location and you can double check where it is safe and work with that. So let's go back into Luminar NEO and continue from there. What I like to do from here is to just drag and drop it into my own library. So in another case, the raw sample files, and we're gonna continue from there. Now for the next step, you don't have to follow me. However, you can if you want to. Since we prepared 4 sets of images, I would like to create HDR images from all of them, and then we can compare them with each other once we finish the edit. So as I say, you can skip over this if you want to, or you can follow me along. So the first set of images we're going to create is the 9 images. So we already know that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And again, the workflow is the same. We're gonna drag and drop them into our HDR Merge field. Double check that they all there. And this set starting from -4.3 and it goes all the way to +3.7. Then double check your HDR Merge setting, again auto alignment, and you can or you don't have to use the ghost reduction. Once you're happy, just click outside and then click on Merge. Just like with the first image, when the HDR file is created, it will be by default placed into HDR Merge folder. So we can take it from here and drag and drop it into our sample file folder. Let's go back there and continue with our merging. So the next is our 3 files. So we will select them 1, 2, and 3. And again, just drop them into our HDR Merge. We already know that our setting is right, so we can just continue by clicking on Merge button. So by now you already know the drill. We're gonna take the file, drag and drop it into our sample files, and we're gonna head back there to finish the project by placing just the one file into our HDR Merge field, and again just clicking on Merge. So for the final time, we're gonna drag and drop it into our sample image folder. And when we go back there, you can now see that we have 4 HDR images here. You can click between them. And by looking at the name, you know that this one is from 5 images. This one is from 9 images. This one from 3. And this is the one single file. So for the edit, let's use the 5 images file. So let's just select it, and before we're going to go into the edit module, I want to go into the presets module where I want to try some of our new HDR presets on it. If you already own our Luminar NEO Power Bundle, they are there right now. You can download them from there and use them. If you haven't, make sure you check out our Luminar NEO Power Bundle by following the link in the description. So while we're here, we have the essential HDR presets here and our landscape presets here. So let's try some of the presets. Let's see the landscape one, for example, the number 1. Let's click on it and apply it. That's quite nice, but gives you a little bit of warmth, which I'm not crazy about. Let's have a look at number 2, which is a little bit more HDR-like, but I would like something a little bit more subtle for this image. So let's check the HDR landscape number 3, and actually that gives us quite nice result. Let's have a look at the before and after, and that is very nice. For this type of scene, the HDR3 is working very well. Now let's move to the essentials and let's see how it's working there. Let's try the preset number 1 here. I think it's a little bit too bright, so let's try the 2. Well, this one I think is a little bit too dark, so let's finish it with number 3 and see what that does. And I think that is quite nice edit as well. It kind of keeps a nice contrast in the image while opening the shadows and making it all nice. But this is not why we're here. We don't want to use the presets. We're going to go into the actions, click on that and click on revert to original. And then we're going to click on the edit on the top of our screen to bring it into edit module where we're going to do the full edit. So just like with any images, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to develop the image. So for that, we need to head into our main toolbar and open the develop tool. So click on it to open it. And let's just close the light as we're going to start by going into the optics. Open the section, and as you can see, we have a little limited selection here as we're working on a TIFF file. However, let's click on Auto Def Range and visually double check the image to see if we need to use one of the lens distortion sliders or devignette midpoint. I think it's looking quite good. We don't need to worry about it. So let's close the optics and move on to the sharpness and noise reduction. So we're going to open both of the sections, and before we're going to adjust them, we need to make sure that we zoom into 100%. So for this, head to the bottom of your screen, click on the zoom icon there and just select the 100%. Then navigate to the area where there is lots of texture details and also some darker places where we can see the noise. Now there is not much noise at all, so I think luminosity on 15 will be more than enough. For this type of image, we can definitely use the 100 formula. So just imagine the number 100 minus the amount of luminosity, which is 15. That is equal to 85. And that's how much we're going to enter into our sharpen slider. So let's go for 85 and let's see the result. Now at this moment, we're sharpening everything on the image and we don't want to do that. So to change that, we're going to use some masking with the masking slider. And generally, a good amount is somewhere between 60 and 70. I think that helps a lot. So we are finished with sharpness and noise reduction, and we can now zoom out. To continue, we're going to go up into the light and blacks and whites. Before we're going to adjust the exposure and smart contrast, we're going to play around with the highlights. First, let's start with the highlights. Let's bring them down. Keep an eye on the image. We don't want to make it too dark, but we would like to bring some more details into the windows. So I think somewhere around here is good. Now with the shadows, when we go crazy, just like I told you in the previous class, we remove the contrast. So we don't want to go all the way there. So let's just bring it down a little bit to something that we like. You kind of need to check it visually. So I think somewhere around here is looking good. After we're done with the highlights and shadows, we can move on to our blacks and whites. To edit the blacks and whites, it's always a good idea to bring on the clipping mask. To do that, just hit J on your keyboard and that will bring the clipping mask into your image. The blue overlay lets you know that these areas are way too dark and underexposed. If you would see a red overlay, that is the area that is overexposed and it's burned out. So let's start with our blacks. It's not a problem if we have a little bit of blacks on the image. It's with the whites where you need to be a little bit more careful. If you would go too much, it would be too much. So I think, again, we need to check it visually. And I think somewhere around 15 is looking good. Once we finish with the blacks and whites, we can close them and we can come back into our light section to adjust the exposure and smart contrast. Now we can start with the smart contrast. We can add a little bit. And I think looking at the image, I would like to increase the exposure just a touch. So maybe somewhere at 25 or 0.20 or 0.25 is looking good. Once we finish with the light, we can close it and we can also hit J again to hide the clipping mask. Once we finish, we can move into the color section. Click on it to open it, and it's here where we're going to adjust our white balance. Because we're using the TIFF file, there are no presets here, so we have to adjust it manually by using the temperature and tint slider. So looking at the image, it looks a little bit too warm for me, so we can bring the temperature down a little bit to recover some of the white tones. So I think somewhere around 6. However, it also looks a little bit green, so I would just add a little bit of magenta tint into the image. So just somewhere around 5. With the saturation and vibrance, I would leave the saturation and we can maybe bring some of the lower saturation tone up by bringing the vibrance slider up as well. So let's have a look what we like. Maybe somewhere around 16 is looking good. Once we finish with the color section, we can close it, and we are done with the develop tool. We can have a look at the before and after by using the little eye icon in the top right corner of the tool. And when you click on it, you can see the before and after. So far, so good. Very subtle. We don't want to go crazy with this one. If anything, I would maybe go back to the light and bring the highlights even lower. Once we finish, close it, close the develop tool and apply it to the image. Don't forget that anytime you use a tool, it will be stored into your edits tab and you can always go back there and adjust it. Now let's head back to our main toolbar by clicking on the tools, and we're gonna continue. The next place I always had is the structure AI. We open it, and when I edit HDR photos, I always like to bring the amount slider down, and down quite a bit to somewhere around 20. As I feel that kind of recovers a little bit of the natural feel of the image. It takes away the heavy HDR feel. So somewhere around -20 works for me. Another thing I like to do is to double check my color. So open the color tool, and here is a really smart slider which is called remove color cast. Often with HDR images you have a little bit of color cast. It can be blue, green, or so on. So double check with this slider if it's gonna help to your image. So let's just push it a little bit, and I think tiny bit it kind of removes the overall warm haze. So somewhere around 15 is looking very good. Again, once we're happy, we can close the tool and we can move on. Now from here, it's really up to us what we want to do. We can do multiple different things here. We can, for example, jump into the landscape and see if maybe a little bit of golden hour wouldn't bring a little bit of warmth into the windows and some of the warm areas of the image. So we can do that. We can also play around with the details tool and maybe bring some of them locally into the image. However, for us, as we're working on a simple edit, we're gonna keep that aside and we're gonna move into our creative section. In the creative section, looking at the place we are, we should definitely use the mystical tool. So we can click on it to open it and then just increase the amount slider to see the amount we like. I like to go quite high on this one to somewhere around 35. Again, we can double check the before and after. And once we're happy, we close the tool and apply it. There's two options I could do here. I could use the matte tool and add a little bit of fade into the darker areas of the image. Or I can also use the glow tool, and inside of the glow tool we can use the Orton effect. By using the Orton effect and increasing the amount, we are getting some more glow into the windows. Let's see before and after. I think just a little bit. And what I would like to do here is to go into the masking and here use the brush, make sure I'm on paint, keep the strength on 100, softness on 100, and just adjust the size and only paint over areas where I want to add the glow. So that is just the windows where we want to create something like this. Let's have a look at the before and after. And once we're done, we're done. We can close this tool, and really to finish it off, let's just head into our professional tools and use the super contrast to bring some additional contrast into the image. Here we can adjust contrast separately into highlights, midtones, and shadows. So let's start with highlights. Let's just push it around and see what we like. I think somewhere around 16 is good. With the midtones, again, a little bit up, maybe somewhere around 15 is great. And let's have a look at our shadows. Yeah, we can a little bit if we want to, but we don't want to go crazy. Maybe just somewhere around 10. Now let's close the super contrast, and we're gonna finish the image by going into our essentials and using a little bit of vignette. Click on it to open it and bring the amount down until you like the amount. So somewhere around 50 is looking good. After that, we can open the advanced setting, and here we can add a little bit of feather to make the vignette a little more subtle. Let's have a look before and after. And once we're happy, close it and apply it. Now again, don't forget that you can check and adjust all your edits into your edits tab. However, for us, we're just gonna look at the before and after, and we're gonna be happy with the result. What are some of the other things you could do here? A little bit of dodge and burn, while you could also test the new dodge and burn tool. You could also double check the effect of the Enhance AI. Once again, you could add some additional details locally by using the Details tool, or you could really try to turn it around and see what the tools like Mood tool with some LUTs, or maybe High Key tool with some really bright white effects would do to the image. But for us, I'm quite happy with what we created, so we can now use this edit to edit the rest of our images. So for this, let's head back into our catalog module, open it, and what we're gonna do, we're just gonna select all of our HDR images. So this is the one we edited, and you can say that by the little icon with the sliders in the top left corner of the image. So now we have this image, let's just hold Command or Control and select the other images. Now right click on the image and then choose Adjustments and Synchronize Adjustments. It usually takes few seconds, however, it should be done pretty soon, and looking at the images and their icons, the edits are done. So now we can select another image, so for example, the one we created from 9 images, and we can head into the Edit module where we can have a look at the effect of the edit. Now looking at it is a little bit more saturated, however, I think it's still quite nice. Now if the look we created earlier isn't for you, once again, you can quickly jump into your Edits tab and do adjustments here to make it more to something that you like. Now that was the 9 images, so let's head back into the catalog, and here we now have the 3 images, so we can bring it back into the edit module and have a look at the result. It's a little bit darker and it has a little more glow in the windows, as you can see, so I think the 5 images was the right choice. Now again, you can always make adjustments to it in the Edits tab. And really, just to finish it off, let's head into our catalog and let's check the one single image. So what's the difference between the one single image and 9 images? So select it and bring it into Edit module. And looking at it here, it really looks like one single image. It does quite a good job with the details in the windows. However, I think the difference between the 9, 5 and 1 is quite big. So if you would be going for a quiet, dynamic situation like this, with lots of light coming from the windows and quite heavy shadows in the darker parts of your image, I would suggest you to go for something like 5, 7 or 9 images to really make sure that you have all the details you're going to need. So now it's time to get your own Luminar NEO shortcut cheat sheet. All you have to do is to head to our website cleverphotographer.com/luminargift and get it right now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun and I hope you learned something new. Please don't forget to follow our channel and also check out our other videos covering Luminar NEO. For today, thank you very much for watching. My name was Jakub and I can't wait to see you in the next one.